He's the prime cut passer from behind the meat counter. It's Fareway Frank. And introducing a 6'3" center who's a cut above the rest. Say hello to Audie Crooks.
Two guys, two Chris's, one network. Iowa Everywhere. It's time for Two Guys with Chris Williams and Chris Hassel. Presented by Fareway Meat and Grocery from the Channel Seed Studios. Where? Everywhere. Live and always on demand at Iowa Everywhere.
What's up? Happy Sunday. Weird show today, but we're gonna kick ass anyways. My name is Chris Williams. I'm joined as always by Chris Hassel, Aiden Wyatt producing today, and Hassel is traveling a bunch. That's why we're doing the show on Sunday. And Hassel is completely out of his mind right now. He can't focus. It's worse than normal. He was swearing, like throwing suitcases around before you guys joined us.
This was a terrible idea to do.
This was your idea.
No, this was the only option I had, I think.
Other than, go on no sleep.
I'm taking a red eye back through the night. I land at like 7 a.m. There's no chance I'm going to not sleep all night and then do a show tomorrow morning. I don't have my mic. There's so much that has gone wrong for me over the last 24 hours. I don't even know where to start.
Well, tell us. We'll start somewhere.
Sitting on the runway for 2.5 hours in Fort Lauderdale because they're all just a mess because of all the cruise ships that dock there and let thousands of people off, suitcases everywhere. So it was a horrible travel day to get here. I get here. I was at shoot-arounds this morning because I've got UNLV Wyoming women's basketball coming up in a little bit, trying to squeeze this show in between that and the game, and I haven't eaten anything. I won't have a chance to eat anything. I needed room service, okay? At some point, somebody's going to be coming in with room service during the show, so keep that in mind. And so
housekeeping.
I tried ordering room service.
Housekeeping.
30 minutes to figure out how to order room service at this place because there's not like a menu in here that you can look at, a button you can press to call room service. Apparently, you have to go on, like there's supposed to be a QR code over by the coffee machine, they told me. There's no QR code. Then somebody else told me at the front desk, well, it's on your TV. Open up your TV. There's going to be a code on there. There's nothing on the TV. All it talks about is all the restaurants nearby. So it takes me 30 minutes to finally place the room service order, and now it's going to come during the show. And I don't know, man. It's just I'm looking out at the Sphere, which kept me up all night because it's right out my window, and it's not like a constant light. If it's constant, it doesn't bother you. Shut the blinds. I shut them most of the way, but it's so bright that this thing was like doing all kinds of different light shows throughout the night. I woke up at 4:30 because I thought the sun was out. It was the fucking Sphere.
What was it? What was it showing you?
Huh?
What was on it?
I don't know, like winky faces and just strobe lights. It just.
I'm really, really sorry that you have to deal with all this.
There's nowhere in my brain right now have I thought about Iowa or Iowa State athletics in the last 12 to 18 hours.
I wouldn't think about that Iowa game either.
This is going to be a shorter show than usual because I just can't. I've got to get over there. We can never do this again. Never again will we do a show where I have to call a game right now. Yeah, it was that stupid winky smiley face thing. Do you
need to go? Right, do you just want me to do the show?
No, I'm okay for now.
Matt's here. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Good
hey.
Grief! Oh man, you got sick kids at home, and
Hassel's really upset.
I pull up in the stream, and Hassel's looking like a ghost.
Yeah, this lighting, like I'm by the window and it's making me look, horrible.
You should have taken a gummy before we went on. They're all over the place over there.
Let's just leave this up for the whole show.
It's just literally just play the sphere. Oh, little Chris.
So that is like my vantage point from out the window is what you're showing right there. I'm that close to the sphere.
That guy is looking at you, that emoji.
It was like that all night.
Unbelievable.
But it wasn't constant. Like the light was always changing brightness. And I had these blinds closed as much as I could. And that light still got in. It's unbelievable.
I said this again. I'm really sorry you have to deal with all this right now. This is horrible.
Oh my God. And don't even get me started on, I missed my connection yesterday and.
What were you flying, Delta?
Yeah. But
yeah. Well, anyways, can we thank Fareway Meat and Grocery?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I guarantee if they were in charge of room service, you'd be eating a big ol' ass, juicy ass steak right now. Is what you'd be doing. Fareway needs to handle all of the room service where are you at? The Mirage? Where are you at?
I'm at I think it's the Westin.
Oh. It's
a nice hotel. It's just like
I didn't even know they had hotels that weren't casinos in Vegas, to be honest. That's fascinating to me. We're in the Channel Seed Studios.
How's my audio, by the way?
You sound fine. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. Don't worry about it. We have professional producers here. We're taking care of it, my man.
When I was a kid, we went on a road trip from California to Oklahoma, and we stayed in Vegas for one night. And my parents put us up in the Motel 6.
Oh.
And there were cigarette burns in the sheets and cockroaches in the bathroom.
And I guarantee you take a blue light to those sheets. Just stains everywhere.
Yeah, do not do that. That's the last thing you want to do.
The Motel 6 there and is what Jim Brinson used to call it, lost wages. We are in the Channel Seed Studios. Hassel did say we are doing a shorter show today. We're going to hit on Iowa and Iowa State basketball. We're going to do our bigger, better, bolder, little Cade McNamara, and touch on the championship game.
Don't tease too much because we might not get to it.
Okay.
If you tease something, you have to do it.
Yeah, that's the payoff. You're right. We'll start with Iowa State. Go to West Virginia. Tough one. 1 of 17 from 3. Biggest note I had was not even that, Chris. 5 assists on 24 field goals. So the ball getting stuck a lot. The Iowa State hasn't won there in almost 10 years. A lot of teams lose in Morgantown. And this was a theme yesterday, too. Really, the majority of the top 10 in college basketball lost, except the team in front of Iowa State. Auburn, without Broome, was able to hang on and barely win at Georgia. What did you think of the Iowa State game?
Yeah, weird game. What did we say a few days ago? Nate Heisey needs to step up, start making some threes. Didn't happen. Yep. Had a wide open shot that he missed early in the game. Ended up going 0 for 2 in 17 minutes. He's got to step up and make some of these threes without Momcilovic. I think we saw in this game, sure, they didn't need him against Kansas, and they're going to win a lot of games without him. They're still going to be a great team. But this was a game I felt like you really did feel his absence.
They packed it in, and you could tell that the spacing was way off. I said this on my Cyclone Fanatic postgame for those of you who don't listen to that, and I realize there's a pretty big audience that doesn't cross over. The Kansas game, to me, Chris, felt like a little bit of a mirage without Momcilovic, because you always see this in sports. If you take a guy away, if you fire a coach, usually there's like a bounce immediately following that, and then you kind of settle into what you actually are. Now, hopefully it's somewhere in between, because I don't know if without Momcilovic, Iowa State is consistently 17 points better than Kansas, but I also don't think they're a 1 of 17 from 3 type of team that, let's call it what it is. Like honestly, it's kind of surprising that game was as close as it was at the 4 and under with as poor as Iowa State was playing offensively in that game. They're likely somewhere in between, and now is where the adjustment period hits where, even those games where Momcilovic wasn't really a factor in the end, he had a lot of games where he's like 1 of 4 from 3. Heisey's finishing you out. Heisey was kind of like your closer, where you would get the lead and then you would bring him in and you would focus on defense for the final 10 minutes of the game. Now you don't have that stretch 4. There's no guy like that on the roster other than Momcilovic when he's playing the stretch 4. And let's see the type of adjustments they make. That's where I'm actually really excited about Tuesday night now, because Central Florida is a bit of an enigma in the Big 12. They'll win at Texas Tech, and then they'll lose at home by 50 to Kansas, and then they almost beat Houston yesterday. They really should have beaten Houston. I watched every minute of that game. That's a game that Coach Hawkins over there is probably kicking himself for today. So, to me with Iowa State, you knew you were going to lose some of these games. They weren't going undefeated in this league. This one set up perfectly for that loss in your first game, road game without Momcilovic. Now I want to see how they respond on Tuesday night.
Sure, because we haven't seen Iowa State have to really respond in a situation like this. I mean, the loss to Auburn, you had to hit it back right away, but you weren't playing a team at that level, and that wasn't a hang your head sort of game. Now, this is not a bad loss. Sure, they were 6.5-point favorites, but the place was on fire. They were honoring Jerry West. I actually felt really good about where Iowa State was in this game 5, 6, 7 minutes in, because of how bad they started with, I think they had 3 turnovers in the first 4 possessions. They missed their first 4 shots. And yet at the first media timeout, it was tied. And the fans were kind of sitting on their hands again. But when this game turned, it turned in a hurry. And when you have Javon Small, it was the spin move he made
so
at the end of the shot clock. Iowa State was up 4, and he makes that spin between 2 defenders and makes that shot. At that moment, I thought, damn it, this is not going to be Iowa State's night. And it turns out it was not.
We'll see how they respond on Tuesday night, and then they have an Arizona swing. Next weekend, they go to Arizona State, and then they have Big Monday at Arizona, who also lost. So there's only one unbeaten now in the Big 12, and that is Houston, who I mentioned almost lost to Central Florida yesterday. Before we move on to Iowa, I do want to thank our friends at Freedom Tire. Van Winkle, have you driven in the last 2 days? I have not, but I guarantee I filled up the old tires prior to this cold spell. Hassel, right now, it is, you can bitch all you want. The feels like temperature right now is negative 19.
What?
It's 0 degrees. Factor in the wind chill. It is negative 19 outside right now.
People are cold here in Vegas right now. It's 45.
So it's basically 65 degrees warmer where you are right now than what we are dealing with. My point is, this is bad on vehicles. If you guys are having a problem here in the next couple of days, remember our friends at Freedom Tire. They have locations all over the Des Moines Metro.
Freedom Tire
on a Sunday, so it's perfect.
You could do a Vegas residency with that voice.
Fit it all in, baby. Fit it all in. Also, our friends at Game Day Men's Health. I have secured, I haven't told you this yet, our friend Colin Murphy, Keith's son, who looks like a gladiator?
Yes.
Game Day Men's Health is going to be sponsoring him in his big boxing match coming up.
Okay, that's fine, but don't give him any of that tea.
Well,
Bill, he will bubble over if he gets tea in
Bill
his
at Game Day told me they're going to give him other stuff that's not testosterone. So they have supplements and stuff, like vitamins, all that good stuff. And we're going to get him some Game Day Men's Health, trunks to walk to the ring in. All these college girls, these sorority girls are just going to be salivating. He's going to be all oiled up, all lubed up.
Well, he's always lubed up. He's never not lubed up.
Well, so we secured a big sponsorship, big time sponsor. So you have representing Game Day Men's Health in the influencer race. You have Brett Favre and Colin Murphy.
And it's Cade Murphy's birthday today. Happy birthday to
Cade.
Yes,
happy birthday to Cade. We should get him some tea. Yep, he's overthinking coming up tomorrow at noon. Murph and Andy will be at 1. I went to a play with my family on Friday night. I was going to put the Des Moines Playhouse in the bigger, better Boulder, but I figured you would just make fun of it, so I didn't want to do that because these young people did such a great job.
It's called the Des Moines Playhouse?
Yeah.
That sounds like it's like some kind of sexual. We would go down to the Des Moines Playhouse, pick out a hooker for you.
This is exactly why I didn't do it, because I didn't want you to make fun of the children in the theater. These young
kids play?
Yeah. Yeah. Went down there on Friday night and come out. The play gets over at about 9:15. Check the old phone, and Iowa is losing by 30 at UCLA. And I'm like, what in the hell? So I, can't watch it because I got about a 25-minute drive. I flip on Gary and Bobby, and we're kind of at the point where Bobby's just not even talking. It's just Dolph well, the Hawkeyes pull it back within 34. Peyton Sandfort coming back into the game. Let's see if he can be the spark that the Hawkeyes need.
If we could just get this under 25, I think we might have a shot.
Yeah, poor bastards. I didn't watch. I don't think I try really hard to cover Iowa and Iowa State as equally as possible on here. You know that. I watch all the Iowa games back just like I do Iowa. I really do try. I'm not going to watch that shit. And I read all of McCaffrey's stuff after the game. I read everything that the Register produced. Great work. I appreciate everybody still covering all this stuff. This is truly of our time covering Iowa and Iowa State, dating back almost 20 years. This is such a wild story of where you have this program that consistently makes NCAA tournaments, and this team, man, it took a hit over the weekend, but it still could. It's not like Iowa's knocked out, but the apathy I'm sensing within all of this, and just here's the problem. It's just when you're giving up 100 every night, I hate questioning effort because I think everybody's trying. Like Bill Self said the other night, everybody's trying to win. But there's a difference between are you trying and then are you competing? And I think back to Dennis Robbins, one of my favorite athletes of all time. I got a guy's poster right up there. It says, "Be afraid to fit in." And I love Roald Rodman quotes, and he constantly talked about when he would go up for a rebound, he would jump 3 or 4 times for a rebound when everybody else jumps once. When he says that, he would rather get a rebound than a dunk. And then my favorite Rodman quote, he says, the worst thing you can say to a basketball player is that he's becoming soft. And how much are you getting of that with this Iowa program? And it's not this specific team, Chris. That's the problem. We've seen this time and time and time and time again, and they are going to bounce back. I promise you. They'll have a couple of wins here at home, and we're all going to go, oh, well, they got a shot. There's a quad 1 win right there. And then the same thing we did last Sunday, where we were so impressed by what they did to Indiana, and then you really have realistically 2 of the worst defensive performances in McCaffrey history on the road at USC and UCLA. So that's where I leave it to you, my friend. That game Friday night, again, I didn't watch it. I'm going to pass the buck over to you. But, boy, it didn't seem like they were competing much, and that's a problem.
That game was over in the blink of an eye. I mean, it got ugly in a hurry, and Iowa never showed any fight. I've got a couple numbers here that just – They almost blow your mind. UCLA shot 62% from the floor, okay? They were 36 for 58, which means they only missed 22 shots. They had 11 offensive rebounds on those 22 misses. They had an offensive rebound on 50% of their missed shots. So even when they weren't making, they were getting the rebound because Iowa is such a horrible rebounding team. So they're basically scoring on every single possession. I don't care how good you are offensively, how well you shoot. it's not going to matter when you can't stop anybody. And this is the problem. It's this same thing. Every single year, it's like Iowa pretty good at home. They'll outscore a bunch of teams at home, and they go on the road and defense travels. When you don't have defense, man, it really shows up on the road. And that was a pathetic performance. I thought that was one of the worst halves of basketball, that first half, that I've ever seen an Iowa team play.
Let me give you a few updated
era too.
A few updated stats for you. The conference only. So this takes out all the garbage non-conference games. Iowa's now effectively the 17th worst defense in the Big Ten. There's 18 schools. Effective field goal percentage defense, they're dead last. Offensive rebound percentage, dead last. Defensive rebound percentage, 17th. 3-point percentage defense, dead last. 2-point percentage, dead last. I mean, you're like, it's honestly, it's kind of hard to be that bad in all of those categories. And then you go, you factor in the non-conference, okay? So we'll do that. Iowa is ranked 158th in total defense. Effective field goal percentage defense, they are ranked 309th in the country, Chris. I don't know how many teams there are, but it's something like 320. Like think about that. Their 2-point percentage defense. This
because you're thinking of all these threes that they're giving up, because they're giving up a lot, and their 2-point defense is much worse.
56%. They are giving up. They're the 331st worst in the entire country. There are 364 teams.
And it's apathy now. I mean, Hot Spring 33 says, as an Iowa fan, I have watched a total of 0 games this year. I have zero desire to watch one. Desperately need new blood. Apathy, apathy, apathy. Dan says, I'm 45 years old, and up until this point in my life, I've tried to never miss watching a game. But this is getting bad enough that it's testing my resolve to watch it. That's the problem now, is people are out. There's no way that you're going to be able to win them back. And it would be really hard to win them back. Really, really hard.
They could win the next 2.
You're going to win them back if you don't show fight, if you don't show resolve. And I can't believe a quote that I read from Fran McCaffrey postgame, where he said, I thought at one stretch, and this is a quote, I thought at one stretch we weren't being tough enough. I pointed that out because we're usually pretty tough, pretty physical team.
Okay. When he says tough, whatever, everybody thinks they're tough. Does he actually think they're a physical team, or is that coach is lying to us? Because that's a staggering quote. The physical part of that quote is what is alarming to me.
Yes. I couldn't believe he said that. What's the last word you would use when describing the Iowa basketball team?
Physical.
At last.
Yeah. It's
look, I'm still not going to change. I still think this team is going to be right there on Selection Sunday and potentially going to the NCAA tournament, because they're going to win some games at home. They're such a good offensive team. They're going to be able to outscore teams there. But where is this going to get us? Where is this team going?
That's why this is such a crazy hypothetical. Well, it's not a hypothetical, it's reality. Especially coming off of Licklider 15 years ago. If you would have told Iowa fans, like, hey, you're going to consistently go to the NCAA tournament, it just, like, and they are. Like, they do consistently, like, they don't go every year, but pretty much. But it's that never really even being a threat to get to the second weekend, right? In that one COVID year, maybe they would have, but whatever. Everybody dealt with that in different ways, right? Like everybody had to deal with that. Mm-hmm. It's just when you watch this team, like this is the problem when you're there for so long, and haven't we seen it with Kirk Ferentz too? We're all of a sudden like 9-3, which is really good for Iowa. It's like, man, I don't know, fire him. Let's see what else we can do. I see little crumbles of that happening with Iowa State and Matt Campbell, where it's just fans just always want more, right? Mm-hmm. Despite how good the guy is actually doing. But the Fran thing is at a whole other level, because he hasn't really ever connected well, feels like here. And then, I don't know, just the bad quotes from players over the – it just all has kind of added up, right? Like, and I'm an outsider, so you guys step on me if I'm stepping out of line here. I'm not trying – this – I actually think my opinion may hold more water because I'm an outsider. I'm not emotionally attached to this at all. But it's you have the constant, like you never see he hasn't changed his recruiting. It's the same look of the team. And I don't mean that they're all white. Don't throw that at me. It's the same type of player, right? Like they really haven't evolved as far as that goes. He talked negatively about the transfer portal forever. Like this was really good 10 years ago. But they haven't ever taken that next step. And you don't, even if this team would somehow sneak into the NCAA tournament, they're not a threat to go to the next weekend. So, like, this is a really tricky spot for Beth Getz. He still has a lot of money that he's owed. And it's not like this program is just, this is not Steve Prohm going 0-18 in the Big 12, where that was like a no-brainer. You had to do it, or you're going to set the program back for another 5 years. I don't know what the answer is here because of all the things we just outlined.
And to make matters worse, a guy that a lot of Iowa fans would love to have is over there in West Virginia without his best player, Tucker DeVries, over the weekend, beating Iowa State and beating great teams time and time again with what? Like, what did he have? He had nothing. He went there with his son. That's it. And his son has been out, and they're still beating great teams. And of course, I'm talking about
they play defense.
Aaron DeVries. And yes, they play D. Hey, look what they did to Iowa State. I mean, they suffocated them.
You know, one thing Otts has really taught me over the years, and I was surprised when he came into Iowa State and it was all defense, right? I was actually really surprised by that because that's not his background. He's a Greg McDermott guy. Greg McDermott's a elite offensive coach. But he did it because he knew he wasn't going to consistently be able to get the players to compete at the top level. And he wanted to go to the NCAA tournament every year and have a chance to get these wins at Hilton Magic every year to keep the fan base engaged. And when you have to do that, like everybody has to be able to play defense because that is the one thing. I quoted Rodman a couple times already. You have to have a certain sort of body to do it at this level, but defense is effort. Defense is a mindset. Defense is intensity, and you can teach that to anybody. Robert Jones was a bad basketball player. By all means, he was a bad basketball player when it came to shooting, when it came to dribbling, when it came to skills, but that son of a bitch played his ass off. And he got you to the Sweet 16 twice playing center for you. Couldn't shoot a free throw, right? But like it's like this intensity level where you don't want to have those teams every year, Chris, but you have to have that level of dog in you to keep it going consistently. And that's just what I see from Iowa year in, year out, where, yeah, you're good enough on offense. What are they, 16th nationally right now?
Well, they were number one in the country in points per game going into that game against UCLA.
Effective field goal percentage.
Number one in the country.
They are number 3 in the country still in effective field goal percentage this year. So they can fill it up. But, man, it went from being – and I couldn't have been more wrong. We got to admit when we're wrong on this show. I thought this team had the guys to be better defensively based on some of the transfers that they brought in. I thought Dix would take another level. I was completely wrong.
Yeah, they can show it for a half. They can show it for a game. They can show it for a game and a half. They can't stretch it out over a couple of weeks or 3 weeks where you get in a groove and you start making stops. You start boxing guys out. You start getting some goddamn rebounds. I mean, you just can't. You can't win consistently the way that they play. And I just don't know that they have the player that can consistently do that. Like you said, I don't know that it's effort. It might just go to who they have and the recruiting. And this is just not how they're built. And it's not going to change.
Want to thank our friends over at the Iowa Wild. We're doing a big event where we're giving away. I'm going to let Matt's not here, but we are he's dealing with a sick child right now.
Yeah, Matt's in and out.
We are giving away tickets to a Dylan Scott concert, and there's Aiden.
We are actually going to give them out on Wednesday.
Oh, we're giving them away on Wednesday, but you can still go sign up at iowaeverywhere.com. You can get a game ticket that includes concert admission. That is for the 25th of January, 6 p.m., the Wild versus Texas, and a Dylan Scott concert afterwards. Also want to thank our friends at Full Court Press, that beautiful family of restaurants. I would encourage you to go to Buzzard Billy's before your next Iowa Wild game, or you could mosey on over to the Iowa Tap Room and go to my favorite spot in all of Des Moines. You go downstairs to the Speakeasy, the not-so-secret Speakeasy. They call it Ken's. It's one of my favorites. They got all the great whiskey bottles. They do have beautiful bottles of Steeple Ridge bourbon at Ken's not-so-secret Speakeasy. Did you get your room service?
No, I don't know where the hell it's at. I mean, they said it was going to be here in 30 minutes or less. It's been
housekeeping.
I don't know what to do. I'm fucked because now I'm going to have to go over to the game. There's no food there.
They don't have the media meal at UNLV?
No, not for the women's game that I'm aware of. Now, I could be totally wrong, but I don't think so.
Everybody's done away with the basketball media meal. That thing's a thing of the past.
Iowa State used to have what, pizza?
Yeah, like they'd have like a bunch of Italian. One of those places you'd have
Italian.
Yeah,
that's how you say it.
Pasta.
Italian?
Yeah, Italian food.
Amazing.
I bet you'd like some Italian right now.
I would eat my hand right now. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse.
I won't say it here, but there's a "I'm so hungry" phrase that my dad says that is just disgusting. I bet I've said it to you.
You cannot say that. Nope.
Yeah.
Not on here.
Aiden has one job to keep me from getting canceled.
It's like every time he says it, I just go, nope. Nope.
Before we get to
halfway through.
Kelderman Manufacturing, bigger, better, bolder. Let's do our trip. Well, let's do Cade McNamara real quick, transferring to East Tennessee State. That is a story that came out over the weekend, and I guess I'm surprised. I kind of thought he'd at least end up at a MAC school.
I mean, this is kind of what I expected if he was going to play again, that he would have to drop down to. I mean, I really don't think there's a huge difference between FCS at that level and the MAC. I really
no,
don't.
There's absolutely not. Good point.
And this is a team that has a first-year coach. Their coach from last year left. I believe he's the Tulsa coach now. So now it's Will Healy is their first-year head coach. He was a coach at Charlotte for a few years. I covered some of his games. He's kind of an eccentric CEO type coach, not really an X's and O's guy, but more of a CEO, and probably sees the name and maybe generate some buzz down there. I hope they're not having any emergency podcast there at ETSU. All excited about this, but
emergency pods. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing what he can do. Just like we saw what, Deacon Hill at Utah Valley and all that. He's playing Marco Lainez, I believe, plays it. Is it Elon? And I believe they play each other at some point this season.
It is crazy to see the quarterback recruiting evaluation of the last 7 or 8 years at Iowa. It's almost Fran McCaffrey defense-esque.
Yeah. And at by far the most important position in sports is the quarterback.
You just wonder too, did they miss on all these guys or did they ruin some of them too?
I think it's mostly missing, partially ruining. I'm thinking 80% miss, 20% fucking with them mentally.
Well, yeah, and I'm not. Again, this is pre-Lester. We don't know how that is all going to turn out, but it's staggering that none of these guys are even close to a lateral transfer. It's like the most lateral they're getting is going to the MAC, and then the rest of them are ending up at FCS, and it's wild.
Yeah,
how that has all worked out. We did see too our guy JJ Cole.
Yeah,
he ended up at Appalachian State.
That seems like it could be a good spot.
I mean, it's a winning program.
Sun Belt. Really
You'll
good
get
fan
seen
base.
there. Yeah, I thought he was going to have to go FCS from what I was told. So that feels like a good spot.
You can't let a tall drink of water like that go down to the FCS level.
He's a good-looking kid, isn't he? Pride of Ankeny. Okay, let's do triple B, bigger, better, bolder, Kelderman Manufacturing.
Bigger, better, bolder. Built by Kelderman Manufacturing.
Kelderman was doing his sports car racing over the weekend. He has a badass Dodge Viper. He hit an oil slick and then the wall at about 125 miles per hour.
What?
I'll send you a picture of his car.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's all right. He's pretty bruised up. He's pretty dinged up. He was giving me updates on because I was going to watch him on this stream. I like to watch Jeff when he's out there, and he texted me about 20 minutes before. Did not go well in qualifying.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad he's all right.
Yeah. I'm going to go real quick to Notre Dame. Notre Dame. I got the Beano Cook in my head from the other day. So I don't know if you guys have covered this on HQ. I apologize if you have, but we have not brought it up to our audience. This has been more of a national conversation. So they're about to play in the national championship game on Monday. And, for forever, the debate was been, when are they going to have to join a conference? And then when they come out with this 12-team playoff and everybody's like, oh, they're never going to be able to get a bye, that's going to push Notre Dame into a conference. Notre Dame, just by getting to the national championship game this year and winning the 3 games that it has, they've made an extra $20 million. So
they outsmarted everybody.
Yeah. So Ohio State's made that much too, but they have to split it with everybody in the Big Ten.
Which cuts it down to like 1 point something, 1.2.
Now, clearly Notre Dame's not going to do this every year, but if you were to say to Notre Dame, hey, this is your setup. When you do win games, you get to pocket it all, and you get to do the host game more often than not.
It's not fair, though, if you ask me. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to do this. They can make their own schedule. They don't have to play a conference championship game.
James Franklin has pointed that out.
Yeah. Not at a good time.
Yeah, bad timing by coach, but that's not exactly what he's known for.
It's not a level playing field. It's not. And they are having their cake and eating it too.
Now, this is gonna as these TV contracts stretch out with the new playoff and everything, like the Big Ten and the SEC will make more and more. So this isn't going to be a financial thing like that's this lopsided every year. But I guess my point is, Notre Dame has so many advantages already because of its tradition and because of its independency and its value to NBC and it gets paid by the ACC, it gets paid by the college football playoff. I just, even the difference that will be there in like 5 years is not even remotely going to be close enough to encourage them to join a conference. I've just been thinking about this a lot lately, and like they have this thing perfectly set up right now.
Yeah, not unless they, the powers that be get together and make them do it to be able to be a part of the playoff. And that's the only way, because now they're in the national championship game. They've made all this money. Their brand has gotten even bigger, and now they're worth even more on their own with their TV money.
Do you think as a Big Ten fan that in 2031 or whenever these things are all up, what are the chances that Ohio State and Michigan get together? Honestly, like I'm thinking about this a lot. Because I believe at that point, football or it'll blow up at that point. I don't think football will even be associated with like basketball and women's basketball and volleyball. It's going to be its own thing. I truly wonder if Big Ten and SEC football even exist at that point.
I'm worried about that too. I really am, because I don't think this can continue. We're getting our first taste of it. These West Coast schools that are now in the Big Ten and the ACC, and you have basketball coaches just bitching like crazy.
Oh, we got to hear Cronin. We have to hear from him.
It really isn't fair, but that's what the athletic department and school signed up for. But I mean, what about women's basketball, volleyball, lacrosse, field hockey, all these other gymnastics? I mean, I think football has to somehow. It should have happened years ago. Football should have just split off on their own and left all the other conferences be. Let them be. They can stay as a, basketball comp. Pac-12 should have stuck together. The teams can leave and be a part of this football thing, but the Pac-12, Stanford and Cal and Arizona State, Colorado, those should all have still been in the Pac-12, and football can just be different. But that's not what happened.
Let's hear from Mick Cronin real quick, because this guy in the last 2 weeks has become the most disliked coach in all.
This was after he beat Iowa by 90.
All right, here we go. Here's what Coach
Much has been made about you guys going east. You just came back from a prolonged East Coast trip. I'm wondering, have you seen anything from the teams that have to come out here and stay out here? Is there any kind of balance with that in terms of the wear and tear and just what you've seen on the court?
Wear and tear on them?
Yeah.
Is that a joke? Please tell me that's a joke.
Is it even comparable, is essentially what I'm trying to say.
Have you ever looked at the NBA stats and what the gamblers and all those people do on West versus East? Talk to Eric Musselman, ask him that question, who coached in the NBA. Good luck, West, going east. Okay, and ask me UCLA's record east of the Mississippi in the last 20 years. Because when I got the job, I looked it up for scheduling purposes. It's under 500, okay? We have to go back 4 times. Oh, the Big Ten teams get to come to Los Angeles where it's 70 degrees 1 time a year. They don't even have to switch hotels. We're 12 miles apart. Are you kidding me? Please tell me you're kidding me. Is this a plan? Is this a planted question? I mean, you cannot be serious with that. And meanwhile, we've seen the Eiffel Tower, or we've seen the Statue of Liberty twice in the last 3 weeks while we were landing. We also saw downtown. We also saw the Capitol building. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, you can't possibly. And we still got to go back, and then we got to go back for the Big Ten tournament. You can't possibly be serious.
Well, that's the thing. You have 4 more trips of those to make.
Yeah.
So,
they do it 1 time. You can't possibly stop. I'm going to eat, man. You can't. I mean, he's asked me to feel sorry because Iowa had to come to LA for a few days.
There's so much to unpack there that we don't even have time to. I could do an entire CW pod on this alone. No, first of all, nobody has sympathy for UCLA and USC. You did this. You know, you're the ones who killed the Pac-12 conference.
The schools did, but
correct.
This wasn't like a men's basketball coaching decision. So I can see where some of these big name coaches, they might want to stay away from jobs like that with that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I guess the whole point is you still represent UCLA though. Like you're getting a lot of benefits from being in the Big Ten and to, I don't know, bitch at your boss, not that guy. Like trying to make whoever that was.
The meaning to the reporter. I mean, it was a fair question. I mean, look what happened to Iowa when they went out there. I know it's just 1 trip, but my God, they got their ass walloped by USC and LA. Yeah, they got to stay in LA for a week, but they got their ass kicked both times.
Just a greater point too of like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We had it so good.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So in 2031, I think things will look a lot different. I don't know that we'll have the Big Ten and the SEC and stuff like that. This could just be a football super league, and then basketball and all the other sports scramble to try to put things back together regionally.
Give me your triple B, and then we'll get out of here.
It's Darren DeVries, because what was West Virginia picked in the Big 12 this year?
Close to last. They weren't last, but they were in the bottom 4. I know that.
And not only that, but the one thing that you knew you did have was Tucker DeVries.
Yep.
And you haven't had him at all these last month or so. They haven't had Tucker DeVries, and all they are is 13-4 overall, 4-2 in conference play. Obviously, we know about the win yesterday, but this team went in for the first time ever and won at Kansas without Tucker DeVries. Earlier this year, they beat Arizona. They beat Georgetown. They beat Gonzaga. I mean, the coaching job he's doing right now is unbelievable.
Couldn't agree more. He's a hell of a coach. He is an absolutely hell of a coach, and better defensive coach than he gets credit for. Just gets a lot out of his guy. By the way, is that Joe Yesufu? How many years can that guy play college basketball? Feels like he has been here for a decade.
I'm surprised that he got as much playing time as he did. I mean, he doesn't seem like he belongs out there.
He defends. That's about it.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got the ladies game, the Rebels and the Cowgirls.
Yeah, it's the Lady Rebels and the Cowgirls.
Yeah, I thought they were the Lady Rebels,
And
but then I didn't want to get canceled if I said that and it was wrong.
My food never came. I don't. If I get charged for this, I swear to God, I am so hangry right now.
I can tell. It's a very uncomfortable.
There's nothing. There's no fast food around here. There's nothing. It's all like sit down restaurants. I don't have time.
Can you have like an Uber?
Horrible mistake. Horrible mistake.
Uber Eats deliver to the arena?
I don't know what. I'm going to have to go get like popcorn from the concession
I know
stand.
the UNLV men's coach, Coach Kruger. Do you want me to text him and see if he can have somebody bring you a sandwich?
No. Thank you. I'm just. I'm going to go
He's
downstairs.
probably in there working. I mean, it's
I'm going to have
connected.
to eat.
His
I'm going to have
office
to have
is-
like Chex Mix and popcorn. And God save me, because I don't do well if I'm tired or if I'm hungry, and I'm both.
So you're going to be starving. Did you at least get first class for that red eye back?
I'm in row 35 from Vegas to Salt Lake City. 35.
So when do you to Salt Lake City, and then you got to get on a plane at like 2 a.m.?
Yep. It's like midnight. Yeah.
Poor bastard.
Yeah. Sucks to be me, man.
He's Chris Hassel. Everybody say a prayer for him. It's Sunday. It's a Sabbath. Everybody say a prayer for Chris. Appreciate you guys working with his schedule. This is a really bad time for everybody right now. Aiden Wyatt produced.
Thanks, Aiden and Matt. In and out.
Matt was like kind of here.
All right. Can we end the goddamn show?
All right, we're going to end it right now. See ya.